Hi there, I'm Cheryl, and this is our card for this week. This Mother's Day card, and I used the Tea Together stamp set from Stampin' Up. And I was lucky enough that I got in on the celebration, got the dies to cut them out. Of course, if you don't have them, then you can always fussy cut. I like to fussy cut sometimes. It can be very therapeutic and meditative at times, and other times I'm just too anxious to get on with my card. And also from Stampin' Up, from my Florentine Filigree bundle, I'm going to use this die for in the background here. On my demo card, I use the Dries Embossing Essentials die. And this is called, let's see if I can see what it's called here, Geometric Background. And then I thought, geez, I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator. I should probably use a Stampin' Up die, so I'm going to use this die. And also using the Layering Ovals Framelits dies. I'm using the smallest scallop die. Pull them out. It's the smallest scallop die, and then the smallest just plain oval also. That, of course, is for our little tag here. I have some nice gold braid that I found in my stash. I used that. But then I thought, you know, not everybody might be able to find this braid. So I'm going to substitute. I just happen to have, from some project pack here, I just happen to have some ribbon. And then it's just the, it's an 1/8 inch ribbon probably. And I'm going to use that. That kind of gives, I put that on to kind of give the illusion of the tabletop edge on here. The dies we're using are Memento Tuxedo Black and a Petal Pink, Balmy Blue, and Highland Heather. I'm going to use these lovely makeup sponges to blend my backgrounds with this. If you don't have these and you don't want to get them, you can achieve the same thing with a one of these like large makeup sponges. You just have to be more cognizant of how much ink you're putting down. With the brushes, it's a no-brainer. Let's see, there's the stamps I'm using. Have them all here. And then I used the Stampin' Blends. These are alcohol markers from Stampin' Up. I used those to color in my teapot. Where did my, oh, there it is over here. I used those to color in my teapot. I used light smoky slate to do some shadowing on the inside of the cup and around the top here on the teapot. And then I used both the light and the dark soft seafoam and the light and the dark Highland Heather. So those are what I'm coloring in with. And then I had to put some nice gold gilding on the teapot and the cup here. And for that I used the Nuvo gilding flakes. And then I have a kind of a scratchy rough sponge. You'll need that. I'm using my Zig two-way glue pen. If you don't have one of these and you do have Tombow glue, you could use Tombow glue and a brush in place of these. In place of the pen. But the pen is just, it just makes things so much easier. And then I have a nice big piece of scrap paper here to contain, or try to contain, my gilding flakes. Let's see, and then I have some glue. I have my designer's Dries clear glue. So, let's get started on the card. Oh, we need to, let me go over the papers too. I used a whole sheet of this, of the thick Whisper White cardstock. Half of the sheet, the 5 by 8.5 piece here, is going to be our card base. And that's then scored and folded at 4 1/4. And then the 2 other pieces I cut into 5 by 4 1/4 pieces. One will be our grid background here. And then the other one, I'll use that to stamp my teapot and my cup and saucer. And then I have a little scrap here. I think I might have room on here to do this, but for the little banner, I'd have just a little scrap of the heavyweight. I have a scrap of Highland heather cardstock, and I have some foam I'll be using to pop things up. And this is the thicker foam. You can use dimensionals if you like. You can use the thinner foam. You can use a cereal box cardboard. Any of those will work to give some dimension to your card. I wanted a little bit more dimension since I'm not putting any big flowers and stuff on here. And I love my big flowers. I'm missing them, but I'm trying to keep my Mother's Day cards. I'm trying to keep them mailable, I guess you want to call it. So, let's get started here. If you hear jingling in the background, that's my dog Pearl. This is the only time I think she scratches, is when she comes in here in my craft room. She lays right here to my left and just scratches and makes jingling noises. It sounds like Santa's coming. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Pearl. Pearl, hey, I'm talking about you. Stop scratching, sweetie. Yeah. So, I'm going to start out. I'm going to ink up my teapot here with the Memento Tuxedo Black and get that inked up real nice. And let's see, where should I put this? Right there looks good. I'll put that aside. I can do my teapot next. And I'll put that down here. And yes, it looks like I'm going to have room to cut my little oval out from this paper too. So I'm going to put this at an angle here. There we go. I got nice impressions there on all of them. Now I need to stamp my little flower on there. Let me grab needed another little block. So just ink that up. And this is where it gets a little hard because, you know, rubber stamps are nice, but you can't tell exactly where you're putting them. So let's see. That looks all right there. And somewhere around here I have a lid for my ink. There we go. And close that up so I don't put my arm in that. And we can color this in now. So I'm going to start out with my flowers. Now, I didn't add any color in the center. Maybe you want to have a little yellow center or something else. I don't know. And I'm going to show you how I do my markers. I like to start out with my light color. I like to fill in the whole area with that. Some people like to start with their dark area and work their way out. And that's fine. Whatever is best for you. You're going to use alcohol markers, and then you'll use them and you'll see what you like best. One thing I can tell you though, you don't want to get involved with too large of an area, because you want to keep them from drying out. And I'm just using a little flicking motion coming out from the center here. This is with the dark Highland Heather. And I'm not going to blend them. I want them to have like I don't know, a watercolory look. I went outside the lines a little bit there, but you can see what I'm doing there right now. I'm going to let that one dry now. I'm going to come over, I'm going to do this one. You'll see why in a minute. And fill this flower in with my light Highland Heather. And by the way, I'm using the painterly tip. There's another end here. It's got a little bullet tip for getting into really small areas. But I'm using the bigger end for this. I feel like I should continue talking here and entertain you. Okay, here we go. While I'm doing this flower, this week's traumatic experience was my older cat got a hematoma on his ear. I had to take him to the vet. We were there yesterday, and they had to actually do surgery on him. He's got stitches, he's got a bandage. The poor guy, he looks like a unicorn. He's got this cone of a bandage sticking out from his ear. And he's going to have to wear that cone for another 3 weeks. And he's like a bulldozer in the house. He's bulldozing everything. Any flower pots, anything like that he can knock over, he's knocking them over with. And this is like day one of the cone adventure. Okay, so now I'm going back to my Highland Heather dark, the darker shade, and one more time I'm gonna just do smaller flicks out from the center of my flower, and that's gonna give us like a 3-layer kind of look. See? Just by going over that a second time, it gives us a little bit darker area there. Okay, so that's done. And let's see, I want to start with my light one, my light sea foam, and just fill in the leaves. I like coloring. I like to color with pencils a lot. I use that more than I have a set of the Spectrum Noir markers. I use my pencils so much more than I use those. Okay, so I've used the light Highland Heather, and I'm just going to give it a little stroke of the dark. Again, there's no blending going on. I'm just doing a kind of a painterly look with it. Now, I colored in the top of my teapot, the rim of my saucer here, and my spout on my teapot. And I'm just going to show you this one And then I'm going to go away. I'm just going to finish doing those little areas, because you're probably about tired of listening to me talk about my cat and the cone of shame. So I'll start out with the light. And just fill that all in with the light Highland heather. Again, don't do all those areas all at once, all at one time, because you don't want the spot you're working on, you don't want that to dry out. And I'm just going to go in with the dark around the edge here. And that's going to give it a little bit of dimension and make it a little bit rounded looking. But now I'm going to go back with my light, and I'm going to just go over that again, all along where I put that dark, just all along the edge. Go over the dark, and then that'll make it darker on the edges, and it'll be lighter in the center. And when you're using alcohol markers, the back is going to look like this. So do not put this down while you're working on it. Don't put it down on anything that's very important to you. Okay, so I'm going to go back in now. I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to finish up the handle of my teapot, and I'm going to put the gray in. And then we'll come back and we'll add some of the blended shading on the cup and the teapot, and then we'll do the gilding flakes. Okay, so now I'm going to use one of my little makeup sponges and pick up just a little bit of color. Okay, and I'm using the what was it? The powder pink. No, petal pink. And you would think it would be a real pinky color, but it is not. It's kind of an orangey color. I'm just going to go down the side here. Oop. And just go right along the edge of my teapot here. And build that color up a little bit. And then I'll come over this side and do the same thing. That just adds a little color to the teapot without being too crazy about it. And by leaving the center part white, then it'll give it a little dimension too. Then I'll do the teacup also that way. Now I don't even know if you can see the color I'm putting on, because it's just the tiniest little touch of color. Can you see it? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I see I have a little spot there that I need to blend down a bit. Okay. I'll close that up. And now I'll use my pen. And I'm going to add the gilding to my handle. My little handle here, down the bottom here. Right here on the bottom of the teacup. And of course the handle of the teacup. So I'm going to just use my pen here and fill that all in. And this is a glue that dries sticky like the Tombow glue. And it's just so much easier to handle in a pen form like this. But like I said, if you don't have it, then you could use your Tombow and a brush that you don't like very much, because that brush will be forever sticky. I'm trying to avoid covering the lines, because we want to see our lines. Some of them are going to have to be covered just just because they're just very tiny, but for the most part I've avoided them. So I'm going to put that aside for the time being. I'm going to pull in one of our 4.5 by or 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch pieces, and this is going to be, we're going to blend this background now. So for that I'm using the Highland Heather and the Balmy Blue, and I'm giving my other my glue here, I'm giving that time to dry because I want that perfectly dry before I start putting my gilding flakes on. So I'll start out with my Balmy Blue, and I'm using the really big sponge. But again, you could use a large makeup sponge for this. Just be very careful you don't get too crazy and put too much color down. There are times when you want a lot of color, but there are times when you want just a subtle color in the background. You don't want it too bold and crazy. Wow, I got a little carried away. I actually got a little carried away there. Even with the sponge. Let me see. I think I'm going to flip it over. I've got a little black smooch there. You know what? I'm just going to go with this. This will be fine. You know what? I'll put it on my card so that part's down and the teapots will be covering it mostly. Okay, that's enough blue. I think I'll start adding in my Highland Heather. I'm just going to rub this off a little bit because these clean up fabulous. And just rub them on your paper a little bit and the ink is gone. Maybe because they don't pick up a lot of ink to start out with. I don't know. I do know they make blending with the dye-based inks a lot easier. So I feel bad for my poor kitty. Huh. And then the other cats are laughing at him. No, they're not really. They're just trying to figure out what in the world he's got on him. Poor guy. And he's got to wear it for 3 weeks. Could you imagine? Wearing one of those cones for 3 weeks. Ugh. Let's see. I think that's good. Alright. Move these out of the way here, because I have to clean that little spot up there. And I'll clean my brush out. There we go. Put it away. I'll clean this one out and put that away. Alright, let's bring this back in. I've got my gilding flakes. Now when you use gilding flakes, let me tell you, these little bits are lighter than air. And if you have anything going, a fan or an air conditioner duct blowing on your work table, they're going to just float away. So you don't want to have any of that stuff going on. I've had these quite a while, and look at this. It looks like I've never even used any of them. I will probably never use any of the, or all of these. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to get some of my bits here, and just everywhere I've put the glue, I'm going to just put some of these. Oh, look, that's a nice big piece. I can get a whole handle there with that one. And it makes a difference if you're using these big flakes like this, or if you're using little bits too. Oh, look at that one. Look at that nice big piece. I'm going to put that right there. Because what I'm going to rub off from this, I save that. I mix the, I have the gold and I have the silver. And I have copper is the other color I have. And I just mix them, when I rub these off, I just mix them together in another separate container, and then I've used those for projects. But yeah, look, this is, they just float. Okay, so I've got them all covered. I'm pat them down. And where did my scratchy sponge get to? I don't know. I lost it. Okay, I'll just grab another one. Here we go. And now you just rub this off. All that excess off. It's all sticking on the sponge. This is one I've used with Tombow in the past. Once you put Tombow on something, even if you wash it, it will stay forever sticky. That's why I said if you use a brush to apply Tombow instead of using one of these zig pens, use a brush you don't like, because it will always and forevermore be sticky. Okay, so there we go. So now I've got that all done. And now it's time for me to do some die cutting. So I'm going to go over the other side of my craft room, and I'll die cut all the bits we need die cut, and put my and put all this away. Oh my, this makes more of a mess, I think, than glitter does. So okay, I'll be right back. So all my pieces are cut out. We can continue on with the card. I think the first thing I'll do is attach this to the piece that we blended the colors on. And I'm going to use my Art Glitter Dries clear glue. A lot of times when I'm putting things on like this, I'll use the Tombow, but I really don't want any, if it oozes out, I really don't want that glue oozing out. Tombow will dry sticky, and then you'll have little sticky parts on your card. So I'm just putting that on by gluing around the edges, and we'll attach our ribbon next. I need to find a spot that's pretty flat. I guess this end here is probably the best for that. I'll snip that off. I've got my Snail Adhesive here. And you know what, I think right in the center there where it's so lumpy, I could get my iron out and iron that. But no, I'm not doing that. I don't even like to iron clothes. I'm sure not going to stop in the middle of a project and iron a piece of ribbon. Okay. So now I'll put it down. It's about 1.5 inches from the bottom, I guess. Stick that down there. Most of that will be covered by the teapot anyway. I'll put some tape on the back here. Just wrap my ribbon around. Let me make sure that I've got that pretty straight here on the front. Okay. Now I also, while I was die cutting, I also cut out some foam for the back of the teapot and for the little teacup. I did not cover this part right here with the foam because that's going to overlap our teapot like so. And we don't want the foam to pop it up even more. So let me glue this down. Again, I'm using the Art Glitter Dries clear glue. I'll put that right here. Just want to make sure you don't go past the edge here. Make sure that's nice and straight. And I can put my teacup on. And again, make sure that you're not going past the edge here. And then we'll glue these two pieces together. I could use some tape on this, but I'm using glue. Glue those together. Oh, I need another little piece of foam for the back of this. I almost forgot about that. So let me just snip myself out a piece here. I was going to say something funny when I was working with the foam. And that's it. You have to have foam that your cats have chewed on. Now, if you don't have cats, then maybe you have a neighbor or a friend who does have cats. But get that chewed on. It's very important you have chewed on foam. Of course, I'm being funny. Okay, stick that down. Get rid of these little bits. And we'll put some glue on there. We have our sentiment on. Right there on the top. So the card has some nice dimension, even without flowers. Now, I also die cut this little piece. This is, if we were going to die cut these flowers, that's the piece that I die cut out. If you don't have the dies, again, stamp the flower and fussy cut it out. We're going to be using that on the inside of the card, which we're doing next, before we glue this down. Now, I already have my sentiment positioned on my Stamparatus, all ready to go for the inside of my card. Just open that up, put that in there. I can ink that up. Let me put one of my magnets on here. They were busy trying to stick to one of my dies. Ink that up real good. And snap it. 1, 2, 3. That'll give the ink time to transfer. And I think I'll do that again. I want that to be a little bit bolder than that. That's what's nice about the Stamparatus. You can stamp it as many times as you need to or want to. I think maybe one more time. Just on the center there. Okay. There we go. That's a good impression now. Let me take that off and put that aside. That'll need to be cleaned up. And then I'm going to stamp some flowers on the inside. Now on my demo card, I did not color them in, but of course you can color them in if you want. I'm going to stamp one right here, pretty much right in the center of the card. Then I'll use my little piece I cut out, cover that up. And then I'm going to stamp one over on this side and one on this side. It's not the best impressions I've ever made, but it will do. Now we're ready to put this bit on the front. Now I'm going to use Tombow glue. I know I probably didn't tell you we needed it at the beginning, but we do. You could use the art glitter Dries clear. That would be fine. I just like the Tombow because it will give me time to position this on the front of my card a little better. So just line this all up. I find it easier if I stand my card up, and I know that I have at least one edge anyway that's perfectly lined up. So there we go. The card's finished. And there's the inside. So let me bring in my demo card. You can see the difference in the backgrounds. Now you make your choice. This one is with the Dries embossing folder, and then this one is with the Stampin' Up one. So your decision. I like both of them. They're equally pretty to me. And then we have our inside sentiment. So if you've liked this video, make sure you hit that like button down below. If you want to see more of my videos, hit the subscribe button. I'll have all of the tools and materials that I used today. I'll have that all listed down below. And if there are any Stampin' Up products that you'd like to purchase, well, that would be wonderful if you used me as your demonstrator. I so much appreciate that. I appreciate everybody who's subscribing to my videos and watching my videos. If you have any questions or comments, be sure you leave those down below there. There's in the comments. And y'all take care, stay safe, and happy stamping.